started with a whisper, a soft creak above the ceiling late at night. Then, the distant sound of shuffling. At first, Daniel Myers chalked it up to old pipes, maybe squirrels. But the noises didn't stop. For 7 years, every winter without fail, the same haunting thumps echoed from the attic. And every time he tried to investigate, he found nothing, just cold air and cobwebs. His wife thought he was imagining it. His kids grew up terrified. Then, the night before their planned move to a new home, the attic door creaked open by itself. And when the police finally opened the crawl space hidden deep behind insulation and rotting wood, what they found inside made one officer drop to his knees. A question for you. What if your family lived for years with a secret hiding just above your head? Would you want to know? Stay with this story till the end, because what the police found was only the beginning. Daniel Myers had always wanted to raise his kids somewhere quiet. In 2010, they moved into a weathered 2-story home on Glen Ridge Drive, a suburban street in upstate New York where nothing ever happened. The house was old, yes, built in the 1940s, full of creaky floorboards and odd little spaces, but it had charm. Or at least, that's what he told his wife, Julia, when she hesitated about the attic. "It's just character," Daniel had joked back then. But he wasn't laughing a few months later when the strange noises started. It was winter, snow blanketing the roof, the kids asleep in their bunk beds, when Daniel heard it. A dragging sound, slow and deliberate, like something being pulled across the floor above their bedroom. He climbed into the attic that night, flashlight trembling in his hand, but there was nothing. Dust, spiderwebs, a few broken picture frames. Then came the smell. Faint, metallic, sour. Julia said he was being paranoid. That old house had quirks, that the insulation was probably moldy. But year after year, the same things kept happening. Noises, cold drafts, that smell. Daniel started locking the attic hatch. He even set up a small camera in the hallway aimed directly at the pull-down door. But it never caught anything. The footage would sometimes glitch, static, a quick black frame, then nothing. His kids, Sarah and Eli, stopped sleeping through the night. Sarah claimed she saw a shadow by her closet. Eli swore someone whispered his name from the vent. They brought in pest control, an electrician, even a paranormal investigator that Julia begged him not to tell anyone about. Still, no answers. Then, one fall evening in 2017, their dog, Baxter, refused to go upstairs. He stood at the bottom of the staircase, growling, tail between his legs. That same night, Daniel heard what he swore were muffled sobs coming from the attic. When he tried to open the hatch, it wouldn't budge, as if someone was holding it closed from the other side. Julia begged him to let it go. "We'll sell the house one day," she whispered. "Let's not ruin everything with your obsession." He tried, for the kids, until they announced they'd finally found a new place and Julia began packing boxes. That's when Daniel decided to go up one last time. He waited until the house was empty, kids at school, Julia at work. He brought gloves, a headlamp, and his determination. The attic looked the same, but something was different. The far wall, just behind the chimney, the insulation looked newer, out of place. Daniel began pulling it back. The fiberglass scratched his arms, filled the air with dust. But then he saw it. A panel. Rough wood, nailed unevenly. A small metal latch. He hesitated. Something deep inside him screamed, "Don't." But he opened it anyway. Behind it was a narrow crawl space. Pitch black. Cold. And in that darkness, he saw a mattress, blankets, rotting food containers, drawings taped to the wall, children's drawings. And then he saw the bones. Daniel stumbled out of the attic, his breath shallow. He called the police. When they arrived, they taped off the house, ushered Julia and the kids to a neighbor's porch. Inside that crawl space, officers found human remains. DNA later confirmed they belonged to a missing teenage girl, Ava Loring, reported missing from a foster home 3 blocks away. But the biggest shock wasn't who she was. It was what else they found next to her. Because tucked behind the mattress, buried in a shoebox, were dozens of photographs, all recent, all taken from inside the Myers home. One of Sarah asleep, one of Julia cooking dinner, one taken just weeks earlier of Daniel himself brushing his teeth. But if Ava had died there over a decade ago, who had been living there all these years? And how did the camera footage always miss it? The Myers family didn't go back to the house that night. Julia took the kids to her sister's. Daniel stayed at the police station answering questions. The house was now a crime scene, but no one had yet explained the most terrifying part. If the girl in the crawlspace had died over 10 years ago, who had taken those photographs? Detectives dug into the crawlspace again, this time with cadaver dogs and forensics. What they found raised more questions than answers. The drawings on the wall were signed Ava L., but dated well beyond her reported death. The mattress was old, but not 10 years old. It had indentations, signs someone had been recently sleeping there. In one corner, they found crumpled wrappers, snacks that had only hit the shelves 2 years ago. Then came the kicker. Tucked into a gap in the insulation was a journal. Pages soaked in damp, ink smudged, but legible. The first half was Ava's, ramblings of a scared girl, hiding from something or someone she never fully described, mentions of a he, a man with keys, and the night whispers. But the final entries weren't hers. The handwriting changed. It was messier, obsessive. One line repeated over and over. They don't know. I watched them. They think I left. She never told. Police suspected Ava had a captor, someone who kept her hidden in the attic, someone who stayed even after she died. And that someone, they believed, was still alive. Detectives dug into Ava's background. She'd run away from a foster home after claims of abuse, claims never investigated properly. Her foster father, Brian Halter, had been questioned in her disappearance, but cleared due to lack of evidence. But one strange detail caught their eye. Halter worked in construction. He'd been contracted during a 2009 remodel of the house on Glen Ridge Drive. The same year Daniel bought it. Julia went pale when she heard this. You mean to say he had access to the house before we moved in? Even worse, when police pulled Glen Ridge's utility logs, they noticed unexplained water usage in the attic lines during the winters. Someone had been living up there, quietly, carefully, watching. 1 week after the crawlspace discovery, Daniel got a call at midnight. Unknown number. No voice on the line. Just breathing. Slow. Intentional. He told the police. They traced it. A burner phone. Signal bouncing off a nearby tower. Julia wanted to flee. We need to leave the state. We need to run, Daniel. But Daniel refused. If we run, he wins. We have to find him. The police installed hidden cameras in the attic, around the property. They left the house empty, a decoy. Days passed, then a motion sensor tripped. 2:17 a.m. A figure, tall, thin, moving through the attic like it was home. He pulled down a panel in the wall, vanished into the crawlspace. SWAT stormed the house, but the crawlspace was empty, until one officer noticed a trap door beneath the insulation, leading not down, but sideways, through the rafters into the garage ceiling. They followed it, and in the hollow space above the garage, they found Brian Halter, alive, dirty, ragged, holding a camera. He'd been living there for years, quietly, obsessively watching the Myers family, sleeping during the day, moving at night. He cut holes through vents and wall seams to spy undetected. He confessed to abducting Ava, grooming her, hiding her when the cops came. Said she got sick and died in the attic. Claimed he stayed because this house was the only place she smiled. Then he said something chilling. She was going to tell the little girl. I had to stop her. When asked what he meant, he just smiled. The Myers family never returned to Glenridge Drive. They sold the house, burned everything that came from the attic. Julia started therapy. The kids, now teenagers, still struggle with nightmares. Daniel kept the journal. The last entry haunts him.
If they ever find me, tell them I tried. I tried to be brave. But he said no one would believe a girl in the walls. The attic was sealed, the crawlspace filled with concrete. But the story didn't end there. Police found other drawings tucked deep in Halter's bag. Pictures of other houses, other children. The FBI now believes Glenridge Drive might not have been his only hiding place. Daniel wonders every day how close his family came to tragedy. And the questions that still remain? Did Ava ever try to escape? Was someone else helping her? How many others never made it out of their attics? And perhaps the most chilling question of all, are there other families right now being watched from above? What do you think? Could you live in a house with a mystery above your head for years? Have you ever heard unexplained sounds in the night? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And remember, sometimes the scariest monsters don't come through the front door. They're already inside.